Hey guys, today we've got Nathan's FG XR6 in for a rear bag kit. We get a lot of questions on the site about what comes in our kits. Today we're going to run you through what comes in the kit as well as a quick basic install on this vehicle. So in each kit we have a valve loom. At each corner you've got your valve block for each valve. At the other end you've got an accessory power and your earth, and then you've got your switches, you've got controls for your switches. So you've got an accessory in the middle, up, down, accessory, up, down. Very easy. A wiring loom for the compressor. This wiring loom here I haven't completed because we're going to fit into the car. The only thing missing from this is basically you've got your battery feed, 50 amp circuit breaker. We would normally supply 6 meters of wire, which will come back to your relay. This we're just going to cut to length once we get into the car. At the other end we've got the relay, you've got an earth for your relay, you've got your accessory power which will come in, and then you've got your pressure switch and an earth as well. Once again, very easy to wire up. We pretty much have these looms ready to go. Anyone with a basic knowledge and a multimeter test light will be able to wire in a kit. Next up guys, we've got our valve block. This is basically the simple fast valve block. You've got your 4 ABS valves. We've got a feed here in the middle which will come from the tank, and then at each corner going out to each wheel, and then also your 2 gauge ones which will go into the cab. All right, tanks wise we've gone with a short fat 5 gallon for this FG. We do have a few different options. It's your choice as to what you want in your kit. We can do the 5 gallon hot dog tanks. These are nicer if you're going to try to sort of show the actual install off. They go up under parcel shelves and stuff like that, quite nice. As well as that, we can do these baby 3 gallon tanks. These are fine for a rear only kit, but if you're going to do a 4 corner system, you really have to step it up to a 5 gallon or you just won't have the air supply there to get your car lifted to ride height. In regards to the bags, with FGs, we run an SS6 Slam Specialties. We only use the Slam Specialty bags in our kits. We've never had any dramas with them rubbing, anything like that. We run a 6-inch in any of the FGs. In your earlier VT to VZ Commodores, we run a 7. The 6-inch in the FG will allow you to mount the bag up inside the subframe if you'd like, which will allow maximum drop. Otherwise, we also do these optional mounting plates for the top. If you're not as confident with your fab skills and stuff like that, you're not too worried about it airing out fully. If you run a big wheel, it's not going to matter anyhow. You're only going to run to your wheel basically hits the inside of the guard. We do these laser cut and powder coated top plates. Very easy for install. Basically your 2 subframe bolts come out, place this in, bolt the bag to that. There's no cutting or drilling on the top end that way. In regards to compressor guys, we only use the Viair 444. I've got one here unpacked. The Viair units are really good. We don't have any warranty dramas or anything like that. This is the 444, so it's not the Big Daddy 485, but it's not a pissy little 400 that you do see in other kits. A lot of other kits will only come with a 400 and will only come with a 3 gallon tank, where ours 5 gallon and a 444C compressor. Also Viair guys are our gauges. We get these in a white or a black face. You got 160 PSI in the black face or 220 PSI in the white. They're dual needle. When we wire them up, we always wire our right hand side up to our red needle. Red, right, easy to remember that way. Once again, Viair, so top quality, you know it's not going to fail. It's illuminated, has a globe in the back, so at night time you can see it. Very easy to install, very good product. Also, you'll get a bag like this. This is basically all your airline fittings as well as any fasteners and stuff that are required to do the job. You've got your little bracket for your gauges to go in, as well as your momentary switches. You've got 2 momentary switches, like I explained earlier, power in the middle, up, down. They basically pop into there. These are just a little laser cut panel, and then gauge pops into there as well. For our bottom mounting on our bags, we have 2 plates that slip into the control arm. The bag then screws onto that, and then we use the top plate for the top mounting. We've got our 2 fittings push to connect that go into the top of the airbag. Pretty straightforward there. That's where basically our airline feeds into. Once again, more fittings. This is for the plate to hold the bag onto the top plate. All our kits come with absolutely everything you need. All fasteners, all bolts, all nuts, all washers, everything like that. Drain cock to go into the tank to allow you to drain. We suggest draining, if you're a daily driver, we suggest draining them probably once a week. If it's something that you don't drive that often, once a month, every time you put fuel in it, that sort of thing. We have our fitting that goes into basically our compressor will go into this. This goes into our tank, and that will basically be our tank supply fitting. We have one extra port left over on our tank, so we give you a little block off. As well as that, you've got your two little fittings there. They go into the back of your gauge. Go into your back of your gauge, that runs your 8th air line into them. And we also supply you with two little self tappers. That's for securing this laser cut panel into wherever you like, whether it be the glove box, anything like that. If you want a flush mount, you don't have to use this panel, but for those that are just putting it in the glove box or somewhere nice and easy to access, this is the go. This is obviously the outlet for the tank. So you've got your inlet for one side, you've got drain one side and a block off the other. This is basically your outlet for the tank. So we've got a T-piece here. At this end, we've got our pressure switch. This is a 165, 200 PSI pressure switch. Always make sure when you are mounting your pressure switches, they're in a vertical position. You run them upside down like that, or even horizontal, you've got the chance of water, moisture getting in and destroying that pressure switch. So we have a little right angle fitting there, so you can basically come straight out the end of the tank and have that right in the air. Off this side, we've got a water trap. Once again, the quickest thing that ruins your valves, whether it be a slow, fast valve, it doesn't matter. Any valve block manifold suffers from condensation and water in them. So we have this little water trap. Out of that, we've then got a fitting, which then supplies back into your valve block. The only thing missing from this kit now, guys, is bag line. We've got enough airline in any of these kits that you can mount your gauge, you can mount your valve block, you can mount your tank pretty much anywhere, and I guarantee you will have enough hose length to do it. When it comes to tank positioning, guys, the choice is yours. You see a lot of installs going into the spare wheel well. We're not a huge fan of this. You've got to get rid of your spare tyre to do it, or your spare tyre has to float around on top of all your airbag gear. This being a daily driven car, we don't want that. We're going to keep it all nice and tucked up, just in this corner here on the side. That way, it's out of the way. He can still access his spare tyre the whole time. It'll keep it nice and tidy and compact, and we can still get the 5-gallon short fat tank just up in that side there. Much like tank mounting, compressor mounting is completely up to you. You can put it wherever you'd like. One thing we like to do is mount the actual compressor to the tank. It just means there's a hell of a lot less holes you drill into the floor of the vehicle. To do this, we have these laser cut mounts. They're laser cut and folded. They both do the 444cc compressors, as well as that, the smaller ones we'll do both level ride and slam valve blocks. We've already gone ahead and ground the paint off the tank. We've positioned it now in the tank and we're just going to weld it off now. Once it's done, we'll give it a quick coat of paint just to cover it all. In regards to the gauge and switch positioning, the Popular is obviously in the center console there, keeps it out of sight of the boys in blue. Nathan's decided he'd like his switches flush mounted in the dash, somewhere beside his steering wheel, either on this side or this side. And he's got a fascia panel made by an aftermarket company that'll go in below the stereo and climate control unit that we'll be able to mount his gauge into. All right guys, we're about to start ripping into this install. Just one thing to be aware of, note, if you're going to have the doors open for a long period of time, which you will, get rid of the interior light fuse. Pull it out, that or disconnect the battery. That way when you finish the job, you're not going to have a dreaded dead battery. All right, so we've got all the interior area out. Daryl's currently getting nutserts mounted in the boot for the tank and compressor and that. Brody's been running all the valve wiring, the gauge line, that sort of thing through the cabin, through into the boot for us. I'm just going to run you through quickly how to set up the tank and the fittings involved. All right, so we've got our tank and we've got our compressor mount already welded on, painted off. On the back side, we've mounted the valve block as well. Makes it very easy. Obviously, it's just a complete unit there. Just pull it out. You've only got the mounting bolts at the bottom of the tank. Just going to run you through the fittings. Main thing to remember with the fittings is use some sealant. We use this Permatex hydraulic pneumatic sealant. Loctite also do a very good one. Be liberal with it, plenty of it. You don't have to crank on any of these fittings. They will warp and distort, even being good quality metal ones, not shitty plastic ones. So use plenty of sealant. So we're going to mount our compressor on the front here. The leader hose will come around to this end. So at this end we simply have the small reducer bush and this 90-degree fitting. Even these fittings that do have the red Loctite sort of material that comes with them, still use the sealant. It's well worth it. This stuff won't do a good enough job of sealing. So obviously when we finish, we point that 90-degree fitting in direction of where that leader hose will be coming into it. We've got our drain block. This will go up this end. We don't have any need for this hole basically in the tank, so we just fit a block off up there. At this end, we basically have the tank outlet. So you've got a 90 degree, which leads into this T-piece, which then has a 90 for your pressure switch, as well as coming from this end, you've got your water trap, and then the outlet that goes to your valve block. Once we've got all this together, we can now insert it into the tank. And then last but not least, we've got our drain trap. Once again, water in the tank's no good. Now that we've got our fittings in our tank, we'll mount the compressor and then start plumbing it all up. All right, now we've got the tank mounted in the corner. We've put all the trims back in the boot here. We're going to go up and we're going to fit up the bags. Okay guys, so we've dropped the suspension arm out of it. We've cut the bum stop off, ground it off nice and flat. We're just giving it a quick coat of paint. We're going to let that sit. It's pretty much the end of the day anyhow, so we're going to go home. We'll pick this up tomorrow morning where we left off. We'll start fitting the bags up and finish the job. So when it comes to mounting our top plate to our bag, pretty straightforward. Remove the protective film from the bag. Depending which side you're fitting this to, left or right, obviously orientation of the bracket. You got your fitting, your push to connect fitting. Once again, even though it's got the red sealant, pre-sealant sort of thing, you're still plenty of sealant on it. Don't be afraid to use it. Screw that one in. You don't have to go overly super tight with these. The sealant will do most of the work in sealing the bag. And then whether, like I said, left or right, depends on which way you've got your plate fitting. Two bolts with a couple of spring washers, pretty straightforward. Once again, these do come in the kit. You get all the fittings, all fixtures, all fasteners, that sort of thing. So we do them up tight and that's pretty much ready to put in the car. All right guys, next morning, it's a lot nicer day to day. It's not rain and dark and everything like that. Our paint's dried overnight, so we're going to fit the bag up to the arm now. We've obviously mounted our plate. We've got our fitting in our bag already. Now this is our bottom fitting. This slides up inside the control arm and then basically you spin the bag onto the plate like so. All right, so now we've got our bag sitting there. You don't have to crank overly tight on it as long as it's nice and snug on this bottom control arm. Obviously, you want your fittings and your fittings pointing out towards the outside of the car. We've got our air line run through the subframe. Our fittings with these plates line up with that hole, so there's no drilling, cutting, anything required to fit that to that subframe. So basically come up with your control arm, hook your bag line in, like so, make sure it's in nice and tight, and then we just go ahead, go up further and basically line them up, put our subframe bolts back on and bolt the control arm back in. We've got the bag now bolted in, the air lines ran to it, the control arms are now all bolted up, we've got the other side done as well. We're just going to put the wheel back on now, come down, connect the battery out, get the compressor fired up and get some air in the system. Okay guys, we've got the battery connected back up. We're going to now fire the car up, let the compressors build up pressure in the tank. On first start, it's a good idea to let that compressor build all the way up, the tank pressure build all the way up, so the actual pressure switch will cut out. You then know all your wiring's been done correctly. Okay, so we've fired it up. As you can hear, the compressors have kicked in. A 5-gallon tank with one single compressor will generally be 6 to 7 minutes to get to the complete 200 PSI. The tank's built up to 200 PSI now, the compressors are cut out, so we know the wiring's right. We'll put a bit of air in these now and it should lift up off the hoist arms. We'll be able to take it out, check for leaks and then send it for a wheel limit. Happy days. Okay guys, we've got Nathan's wheel line now. We've checked for leaks. We're really happy with it. As you can see, it came out killer. It really looks good. The color, the wheels, combination, really happy with how it looks and I'm sure he will be too. If there's anything you've seen on this video, stuff you weren't sure about, you'd want to ask us some questions, either hit up our Facebook or Instagram pages or head over to our new website, www.cntautomotive.com.au. We'll see similar videos like this dropping all the time. Brad from BJM Media is going to be in the shop a lot more doing videos like this, so stay around what we've got going on. Thanks guys.